Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you had a good lunch. I'm going to be talking about digital transformation and sustainability. There is a universal definition of what sustainability is that was defined in 1987 by the UN, which is taking care of the needs of today so that we do not sacrifice the needs of tomorrow. So how do we act responsible today so that we do not jeopardize the future? However, there's no digital transformation definition that is universal. And digital transformation is broad. There is a tendency to think about digital transformation in terms of the technology. And we talk about digital adoption. But I see digital as an adjective. Transformation is the most important part. Because if you do not transform the way you think, the way you lead, the way you work, the way you organize around value, you will not fully leverage digital. So we need to go beyond looking at digital transformation as just adoption. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to tell a story to illustrate what I'm talking about. Early in my career, I worked for Motorola. I was recruited in 1999. Okay, I'm dating myself. I was completing my doctorate and also teaching at the university. I was to join a team that was going to create the first 3G phone. NTT Docomo in 1998 had created the first 3G network, so they needed phone devices that are going to use this network, so they partnered with Motorola. Motorola was established in 1928. They were the company that introduced the first cell phones. I joined 2000, and 22 months later, we had delivered a 3G phone. Those were great times because at the time, everybody was learning. No one understood fully the technology. The standards were evolving. So everybody was learning. The other thing that happened was that in 2004, those who are older will know, the Razor was released. Very, very successful phone. In fact, Steve Jobs wanted to be part of the action in 2005, wanted to partner with Motorola. And a rocker phone was created that was like an iTunes phone. But that phone was not a success. And the learnings for Jobs there was that he needed to have complete control of the experience that is rendered on the devices that he creates. And as a result, in 2007, iPhone was launched. It blindsided Motorola and eroded the market share for Motorola. Motorola focused on advancing the technology. Apple recognized the importance of technology, but what was more important was the experience of the users and also the willingness to cannibalize itself, because it cannibalized the iPod and created a 3-in-1 device in an iPhone, which was a internet communication device, a phone, and also a music player. The other thing he did was that he disrupted the telco carrier-focused business operations because carriers, telco carriers, dictated what the manufacturers created. He influenced the shift from a voice, from voice revenues to data. The iPhone was not the greatest in terms of telephone wireless technology. It was using 2.5G. Motorola had already put on the market in 2001 a 3G. The reason I'm highlighting this is that with digital transformation, yes, technology is important, but it is the transformation and how you leverage that digital technology to create new value streams, change business models. So if you want to leverage digital technologies and transform fully, you need to move beyond just the digitization, the adoption, or even leveraging technology for operational efficiencies. In 2011, Google announced that they wanted to buy Motorola. They were not interested in the phones. They were interested in the Android operating system. In fact, they were interested in protecting the Android operating system so that the phone manufacturers of Android phones could be protected. So they needed the IP from Motorola. Motorola ended up becoming a Google company in 2012 and later was sold to Lenovo. The moral of the story here is the emphasis of if you emphasize on technology and you're not looking at the disruption that you can make in terms of the focus on clients or customers or consumers, then you're not going to be successful for a long time. I tell this story because I was involved when all of this was happening. And for me, it made me very passionate in terms of when we talk digital transformation, we need to go beyond just the adoption. We need to look at how we co-create new value. We need to look at how we disrupt ourselves and disrupt disrupt business models. So what is then sustainable digital transformation? It is the leveraging of technology to create the value, to put the consumers of that value that you're creating, and the value is actually defined by the consumers. It's from the eyes of the consumers, not from the eyes of the person who is creating the value. It is creating that value, but you have to do it responsibly, and you need to do it ethically, because we need to make sure that people are not left behind in this transformation. It needs to be inclusive. We need to make sure that we do not increase the digital divide that already exists. And in terms of the planet, in how we create the technology or how we use the technology, we need to be responsible in that use of the technology. And as far as prosperity, that actually ignites innovation, green technology. South Africa is very dependent on imports when it comes to digital equipment. When it comes to hardware, when it comes to software, processing and storage devices, we are importing. Yet we have a massive amount of young people that are unemployed. And if we were to leverage that talent, I believe everybody has potential. And if we were to leverage that talent, because it's not that we have scarcity of talent, but we have scarcity of opportunities to harness the talent that we have. So digital transformation, there's a tendency to think of it is like there's going to be a destination. But as long as there's advancements in technology, it's going to be a perpetual cycle. Because you will innovate because there's a need that you're trying to meet. And then that innovation technology is going to create new experiences. The new experiences are going to elicit new behaviors. And then they're going to create new expectations. And the expectations are going to create, a perceived new need or a real need. So it is a cycle that is ongoing. But when that is all happening, there are changes in terms of our social interactions, the economic impact, and as well as environmental changes. ITU, International Telecommunications Union, and UNDP have determined that 70% of the SDG targets can be enabled by technology. I call this new technology, I use the mnemonic, that it is masked aiders. They can aid, but the full potential of how they can aid is not evident to everybody. Quantum computing is coming. Right now, we're trying to figure out and deal with generative AI, with all the fast-changing developments in that area. In last year, 2023, the UJ Civil Engineering School created the first 3D printed house. That house can be, a house that is produced in less than 24 hours, using less material. Now you can imagine what is the implication of that for human settlements in South Africa. As much as these technologies can be aiders, they can also be raiders of our privacy. The dark stuff that happens behind the scenes. Data is the most precious resource in the digital era. Now, early on, there was a metaphor used in terms of data, that it was the new soil. It was the new oil. So like oil, you extract it, you refine it, so that it becomes useful. But what that metaphor did, it drove extractive behaviors of extracting data. You willingly consent to cookies being used when you want to get access to some information. And you may think, oh, maybe that's fair. But it's not actually a very fair exchange, because if you think of how much those that are tracking your behavior and collecting your data, when they sell that data, and then that data is used to actually target you for ads so that it can drive consumption. It's actually not a truly fair exchange. So a better metaphor is to look at data as the new soil. Because like soil, it is ubiquitous. It is not a scarce resource that is limited like oil. But like soil, you need to nurture it so that you can benefit from it. So driving inclusive, sustainable transformation needs to be a participatory endeavor. It needs to be holistic so that no one is left behind. Technology is a double-edged sword. You can use it to benefit, and you can use it for evil. So it is imperative that there is responsible technology governance, that we have a mindset that is going to make sure that we are using technology in a responsible manner. So sustainability with technology, there's sustainability in technology, and there's sustainability with technology. I think the impact of technology, most of them are not actually seen. Others we do see. The addictive behavior that gets generated is not apparent. And also, I don't know how you feel. Is it okay that the data of South Africans is stored outside the borders of South Africa? We understand digital sovereignty. We understand national sovereignty. But do we understand digital sovereignty? Because we have things coming through our borders and we don't have control of. In February, President Biden issued an executive order to get TikTok divested from ByteDance because they saw TikTok as posing a national security for the United States. Because Chinese law requires that any Chinese entity should provide data if and when it's asked by the government. And TikTok is collecting data. Yes, it's providing a medium for people to be creative. But do you know that the version of TikTok that is within China, that is used in China, is different from the TikTok version that is outside? TikTok version that is in China is more constructive, more educational. They limit how much kids spend on their devices, how much kids spend on TikTok. But that's not happening with the version that is outside. So what does that mean? So thinking about these impacts and thinking about how we can protect our citizens so that we can have prosperity and prosper as a nation, it is very important. So quickly, sustainability in technology, it is about how recyclability of the materials that are used. It is about energy efficiency. You may not realize, and some people don't really realize, that even in the software that you create, there are opportunities there to actually, with a sustainability mindset, that you can create green software. There's a Green Software Foundation that has been created, that exists. Green user experience. How do you make sure that the experiences that you're creating them with a sustainability mindset? Sustainability by technology is how you leverage technology now to drive sustainability goals. You're looking at real-time monitoring and tracking, how you collect the data, and then you can predict so that you can have proactive actions in whatever you're doing. For example, if we have smart water metering systems, we can be alerted if there is leakage. We can be alerted if the water quality is not that great. So to shift and accelerate the shift, we need to be looking at enabling digital infrastructure. South Africa is great in terms of the mobile internet access, but affordability of data is still a problem. We need to have regulatory policies that are going to protect and incentivize sustainable use of technology. Financial digital inclusivity, there needs to be access there. People must be able to access these financial products. They need to be able to use the devices. They need to have data so that they can have that access. Because something can be accessible, but if you cannot afford it, you don't have the data, then it's as good as if it doesn't exist for you. We need digital skills for our talent, but it needs to go beyond the skills to digital fluency so that we can adapt as there are changes in the environment, and engaged digital citizenship. Digital entrepreneurship to drive the economic activity. I'm going to move faster because I actually want to share something so you can see how we can apply some of these things. I cannot stress it enough, the importance of changing the mindset so that we can leverage digital. We said COVID was the accelerator of digital transformation, but it accelerated adoption of technology. We did not shift how we managed, we did not shift how we worked. We're used to managing by sight. If you see someone sitting at their desk, you're comfortable that they're working. During COVID, we wanted to see people online because we still have the mentality of managing by sight. Now we want people to go back to the office. But as we changed and we said we're going to manage and look at outcomes and be clear what the measures of success are, then it wouldn't matter where people are because they will be able to execute what is needed to drive those outcomes. So mindset shift is critical. And then focus on education and health digitalization because this is a basic human right in my mind that provides dignity and enables people to be self-sufficient. I'm not going to talk about that because I'm running out of time. The South Africa in the Digital Aid Consortium took the global kit, digital kit, and tailored it for the South African environment to determine what are the pathways for economic prosperity in South Africa. Work has been done, recommendations have been done. 5 pillars they have identified as things that we need to be looking at. But I'm just going to look at the human capital because I'm very passionate about this. Because if we can tap into this potential, there's so much that South Africa can achieve. So all of these facets of human capital, so the foundation, educational pathway, and skills gap, only raw talent is green. Everything else is not green. That means we're not ready there. I took a break last year before I joined my current employer. And I partnered with Trace Academia, which provides an open learning platform, and University of Johannesburg, which provided courses on the Trace Academia. We held boot camps because we found that there's a lot of interest from the youth on the UJ course that was covering digital entrepreneurship, or rather entrepreneurship. So we had the kids download and do that course on the platform, but then we provided immersive applied experiences in the classroom.
I know when we came through for our everyday sessions, if you actually do the course, you would be equipped so you wouldn't be confused when they explain something because you've already gotten the knowledge from the app.
The main thing that is really inspirational about being here is the information I got.
Being curious was just life-changing. I haven't seen facilitators that are this passionate.
They were really helpful and they were able to help you with your individual needs and concerns.
You get to learn more information in less than a week.
I was in a 6-month incubator and I didn't get this kind of information.
It helped with breaking down your business and actually critically think about what you want to venture into.
I'm speaking to you currently. I have now registered my company.
The lady there who's talking about she's registered her company. She's a second-year LLB student, but she wants to do hydroponic farming. That's why she left. She came from Durban and came to Joburg for this boot camp. We have kids that wanting to create, they want to farm. They want to create applications that will enable telling African stories. There were vast aspirations from these children, but all they needed was an environment where they can blossom. We need to change how we do our education, how we conduct educational activities. Because you heard one said they were in a 6-month incubator, and they didn't get the information that they got in a week with the program that we had. Because those incubators, they were using traditional ways of learning. This is another thing that we did in June last year. So we partnered with Tomorrow Trust that provides support to kids in the township. So they were having a winter school in a Highland Park, or Parkview High. So Tomorrow Trust collects the kids from the township, brings them to the school. We came in and we taught them artificial intelligence. They didn't know what artificial intelligence was. But by the 8th hour, these kids were passionately debating AI ethical issues. These kids understood, because they created the chatbot, they understood the importance of data and how that data is critical when you're creating models, because they broke each other's models. Then they were determined to break ChatGPT, and they did break it, because they were using isiZulu, isiXhosa, languages that ChatGPT does not understand. But then they understood that they can do something about it, because all these models are dependent on the data that they are fed. And at the end of that 8 hours, so it was 2 hours over 5 days. Another session was 2 hours over 4 days. At the end of those sessions, these kids wanted to be data scientists. They didn't know anything about data science. Data scientists, data engineers, software engineers, AI engineers. They're grade 11. Now, we were fortunate because all of them they were taking pure maths. Can you imagine someone gets excited with the possibilities and they're doing math literacy? They won't be able to get into engineering school or computer science at university to actually pursue these careers. So how we educate our kids, we flip the classrooms, because the teacher cannot be the deliverer of information. Information is out there. How do we use the classrooms to apply the knowledge so that it is effective and is meaningful? With the bootcamp, we're able to flip the classroom. With the grade 11s, we were not, but we used project-based learning. I like what Marius Otheisen from Gibbs says, that we caught in a 21st century economy, but with 20th century institutions that often teach 19th century content. We can change this. Even with Gen AI, when it first came out, universities and schools, oh no, this is going to support cheating. That's because they were not prepared at changing how now they do teaching. Khan Academy has created Khanmigo, which is using Gen AI, is potentially going to provide a tutor for every child and a teaching assistant for every teacher. Changing the mindset and how we look at things, how we think about creating value, how we work, how we lead, is the key to leveraging the technologies so that digital transformation can be much more sustainable and impactful. The youth in South Africa is our future, and the future is digital. Let's equip them. Thank you.